Let's go to the most remote, the most extreme, and honestly one of the most unexplored places on our own planet. A place with such crushing pressure and total darkness that, for the longest time, science just assumed it was a biological dead zone. Today, we're diving to the very bottom of the world, the Mariana Trench.
It's located out in the western Pacific Ocean, and it's this massive, 2,500-kilometer-long scar on the Earth's crust. But it's not just another deep spot in the ocean. This place is practically another world.
And its deepest point is called the Challenger Deep. We're talking nearly 11,000 meters down. That's about 7 miles. To put that in perspective, you could take Mount Everest, drop it in here, and its summit would still be over a mile underwater. It is, quite literally, the bottom of the world.
Now, for a very long time, scientists were pretty convinced nothing could live here. And you can see why, right? The pressure is more than 1,000 times what we feel. It is pitch black all the time. It's relentlessly cold. And it's so far from the sunny world up top, everyone just figured it had to be a barren, nutrient-starved desert.
So that's the big question. In an environment this hostile, what could possibly find a way to survive, let alone build a thriving community? Well, the answer turns out to be way more incredible than anyone ever thought.
Okay, so let's get right to the first huge revelation. That whole idea of a barren wasteland? Yeah, recent science has just completely blown that out of the water. Far from being empty, the deepest part of the trench is actually a biological hotspot.
And this, right here, just perfectly captures that total 180 in our understanding. The expectation was a void, a desert. The reality, which we found in the sediment down there, is this bustling community of microscopic life, especially fungi. But of course, that just raises a brand new question. How in the world are they getting enough food?
And the answer, it turns out, is in the geology. The trench's V-shape acts like a giant, natural funnel. So any organic stuff, dead plankton, bits of waste, anything that sinks from the ocean above, gets collected and channeled right down to the bottom. The trench basically sets its own dinner table. And just look at the result of that funnel effect. This chart says it all. You compare the nearby flat seafloor, the abyssal plain, to the sediment in the Challenger Deep, and it's not even close. The bottom of the trench is absolutely packed with fungi. They're not just hanging on, they are flourishing. And let's be super clear here, this isn't just a small finding. The deepest point on Earth is not a desert, it's a thriving oasis. In fact, it's one of the richest deep-sea fungal habitats that has ever been found anywhere on the entire planet. That's just wild.
Okay, so we've established there's a ton of fungi down there. The next really obvious question is, who are they? What kinds of life forms have actually adapted to this unbelievable place?
And this is where it gets really, really mysterious. When scientists started sequencing the DNA from the mud, sure, they found some familiar groups like Ascomycota. That's a super common group of fungi. But look at that huge slice of the pie. A staggering 40% were completely unclassified.
So what does that even mean? It means that almost half of the fungal life at the bottom of the ocean is completely unknown to science. No matches in any of our databases. These could be totally new species, maybe even whole new families that have evolved in total isolation. It is a biological treasure trove.
Now, for the fungi that we could identify, like the ones from the Aspergillosae family, we can see exactly what they're doing down there. They are expert decomposers. Their specialty is breaking down really tough organic stuff, like the complex sugars you find in algae that have sunk all the way from the surface. They are the ultimate recycling crew of the deep.
But this whole ecosystem isn't just about fungi, not by a long shot. To really get what's happening down there, we have to look at the entire microbial community and the incredible chemical toolkits they've built just to survive.
So, right, we've solved the food problem. That funnel effect takes care of that. But food is just raw material. How do you take those materials and actually build cells and proteins and DNA when you're being crushed by insane pressure in near-freezing water?
The secret, it turns out, lies with this whole diverse community of microbes that have evolved these unique metabolisms. They don't just eat, they perform chemistry. They literally manipulate the elements around them to create the building blocks of life itself.
And a perfect example of this is the nitrogen cycle. You might remember it as that complicated chart from a science textbook. But down here, it's life's ultimate survival kit. It's the actual process microbes use to take the element nitrogen and turn it into usable forms so they can build everything they need. They are master chemists.
And this brings us to some findings that are frankly just astonishing. We're not just talking about basic survival anymore. We are talking about microbes that have abilities that seem to break the known rules of biology. You could almost call them deep-sea superpowers.
Scientists found all sorts of things. There were bacteria that can build life from scratch by fixing their own carbon, others that basically eat hydrocarbons to make their own fertilizer. But the most mind-bending discovery involves a microbe that seems to do the impossible.
Okay, get this. The biology textbook rule for a type of microbe called Anammox bacteria is that they are strictly anaerobic. That means oxygen is literal poison to them. But down in the trench, researchers found a species that had the genes for aerobic respiration, for breathing oxygen. This gives it a huge advantage. It can get rid of toxic oxygen to protect itself and use it to generate a massive energy boost. It is a brilliant evolutionary hack. All of these discoveries, from the fungal hotspot to these rule-breaking, oxygen-breathing microbes, they force us to completely rethink what is possible for life. This isn't just about making a list of new species. It's about redefining the very limits of biology.
So we have to stop thinking of the deep ocean as this empty, boring void. It's a crucible. It's an engine for evolution. The intense pressure and unique chemistry are forcing life to invent brand new ways to make a living. It just goes to show you, wherever there's even a tiny sliver of opportunity, life will find a way.
And really, this is just the beginning. As the researchers themselves say, these findings are just paving the way. Every single discovery just opens up a dozen new questions about how these ecosystems work and what role they play on a planetary scale.
So we're left with this. We found fungi that thrive under impossible pressure, and microbes that just laugh at the rules of chemistry. Discoveries like this don't just expand what we know about life on Earth. They expand the possibilities for where we might find life elsewhere in the cosmos. It just makes you wonder, right? What else is down there, just waiting for us to find it?